Okay, alright, I got about 3 videos I'm going to do in a row. The first one is the history of Doctor Who. I'm going to go over all 16, 17. I have no idea. I'm just going to go over, I'm doing this from memory, all the brief history of each of the, as many Doctors as there have been. Just the TV ones. And, yeah, just the TV ones. Oy. Because if I count the other ones, I'm going to get a headache and have a nervous breakdown. So let's not do that. Okay, 1963. I will not go over the years of all of them, but I know the years for the first one. 1963 to about 1966, we had William Hartnell. He was the first Doctor. Among his known companions was Ian Chesterton, Barbara, and Susan Foreman. Ian and Barbara were school teachers at a school called Coal Hills Elementary, and Susan was one of their students. Susan was the Doctor's granddaughter. Susan and the Doctor... Susan and the Doctor turned out to be Time Lords from another planet called Gallifrey, but we didn't know that till the end of the second Doctor, about the Doctor. We didn't know about Susan for certain till the 5 Doctors when Susan returned briefly. In the second storyline, we were introduced to the Dialects. We're introduced to the Cybermen at the end of the storyline. At the end of the storyline, William Hartnell, I believe his health was starting to go downhill, so they decided the TV series was started as a children's series to teach history originally. Then it evolved into a science fiction series. It aired in November 1963, making it the longest running science fiction series of all time, according to Guinness Book of World Records. By the way, in case you haven't noticed, we have I now have a laptop, so I got a bigger screen than that instead of using a phone. If you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So instead of doing that, they decided to change the actor and have him this ability they didn't explain till the second Doctor, at the end of his run, that he can change form. That he's a part of a race that can change forms at the end when the body wears out or gets hurt or something. The second actor was Patrick Troughton. Patrick Troughton would be kind of look like a Charlie Chaplin-like character, a hobo. He would end up with Ian and Barbara for a while. Then Ian and Barbara left under the Hartnell era. The actress who played Barbara would die. We saw Susan during the 5 Doctors, which was 30th anniversary, and we saw Ian in the Power of the Doctor, which we just saw, which was Jodie Whittaker's last episode. He was in the he was 90-something. He was in the support group with all the other companions from different Doctor Who eras. He's the one that goes, "Excuse me, you said her?" They were talking about the Doctor. It was great to see him. I am hoping somewhere during the 60th anniversary, I keep saying this, I've been saying this since I've been doing YouTube videos, that they bring Carol Ann Ford back as Susan one more time. Even if they just do it long enough for her to regenerate into a new form and maybe use her in another form, in another Doctor, maybe in a spin-off series. I'd love to see her get her own TARDIS somehow and go off, maybe with her son, and maybe some grandkids in that, and travel the universe. Patrick Troughton would have Jamie and Zoe and some others with him, mostly Jamie and Zoe. This is where we meet the great intelligence who Matt Smith dealt with mostly, or was it Matt Smith? He was, or was it? Yeah, and he. We also were introduced to Lieutenant Colonel Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart, who would later become the Brigadier, who we would see through up through the Sylvester McCoy Doctor, and then into the Sarah Jane Adventures for a couple episodes. He was originally supposed to make an appearance in the Doctor Who series when it came back, but it just didn't work out. His health was failing, so they brought back Kate Stewart, who was in a one-off spin-off back during the years when Doctor Who was not on air, played by a different actress back then, with Sarah Jane Smith and the Brigadier and a couple other characters, called Downtime. They brought her back and she took over Unit, and I'm hoping that they're going to do a spin-off series. I think they are, and I'm glad to see that she's going to be in the 60th anniversary. They have to have a Lethbridge Stewart in the 60th. We have the Yeti, we have the Auton. No, the Autons came to the next Doctor. But they had some great stuff with the Patrick Troughton. Patrick Troughton's probably better known for playing the Catholic priest in the Omen movie that gets skewered by a weather vane that comes off a roof of a building, skewers him to the ground, killing him. At the end of the last storyline was called War Games, where a rogue Time Lord of the Doctor's race is working with another race in kidnapping humans from different time periods and using them to find out who the strongest time era is to create an army race to conquer the universe. And the only way the Doctor fears that they can get everybody back to their own timelines is he has to contact the Time Lords. And by doing that, he gets caught, finally. And they send Zoe and Jamie back to their own timelines. And they erase their memories of everything but their first encounter with the Doctor. They remember the first encounter, and that's it. And they tell the Doctor that he's going to be banished to the Earth with the TARDIS, but the TARDIS cannot move. He's stuck on the Earth. And they say, you're going to have to regenerate again. And that's where regeneration comes in. And that's how the season ends. And he regenerates into John Pertwee. If you've ever seen the TV series Gotham on Fox, Alfred, who was the butler who worked with the young Bruce Wayne, was Sean Pertwee, which is the son of John Pertwee. John Pertwee was probably one of my favorite Doctors. He was mostly earthbound. We're introduced to Roger Delgado as the Master. We're introduced to the Autons. The Autons was a race that was able to take over plastic and bring it to life, like mannequins and that, and different stuff. Was able to control mannequins and kill people. And we were introduced to the Silurians, which were amphibious race, and the Sea Devils that were their cousins. And we were introduced to all kinds of races that the Doctor would face later. So it just I like Pertwee, but at the end, the Earth was the Doctor was being attacked. At the beginning of the Doctor, when he comes to on the Earth, he's brought to a military hospital, and he's introduced to the head of UNIT, United Nations Intelligence Task Force, because it was called back then, and its president in its head, Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart, played by Nicholas Courtney. Nicholas Courtney played a different character in the first season. Then he came in as the lieutenant colonel that I mentioned in the second season. Then when he came back in the third, and with the second Doctor, then in the third Doctor he was promoted to brigadier. He would become one of the Doctor's closest friends. He was not mentioned in the Day of the Moon, or one of those where the Doctor supposedly dies, with the astronaut suit, where River Song, that the brigadier had died because the actor had died during that season. So they gave honor to the actor with that. It was a sad day. Roger Delgado was going to be used more, but he was killed in a car wreck during a movie when he was filming in Europe somewhere. Who played the Master. But back to these blob-like creatures was attacking unit headquarters, and this energy drain from a black hole was attacking Gallifrey, which was the Doctor's homeworld. And it turned out these blob creatures were antimatter, somehow being protected so it wouldn't destroy the matter universe, and the energy beam from the black hole was coming from the antimatter universe. And the Doctor called out for help from the Time Lords, and the Time Lords didn't know how they could help John, the third Doctor, so all they could do was they sent enough energy to bring the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, back. So they reunited the second Doctor. They put the second Doctor with the third Doctor, and it wasn't enough. They kept fighting, so they did put on screen, because he was too ill to join them physically, the first Doctor, William Hartnell. And they turned off the force shield and they let the antimatter beings teleport not only the TARDIS but unit headquarters into the antimatter universe, where we're introduced to Omega. Omega, I hope to see in the new Doctor Who universe. Omega was a Time Lord that created the technology and the power source for the Time Lords to regenerate and time travel, and the power source for their homeworld. And he got trapped in the antimatter universe, and he believes that the time was trapped him there. And they ended up tricking him into, somehow they kept something had been left on the TARDIS that was still matter, and Omega touched it, causing supposedly the antimatter universe to explode, supposedly killing Omega, though he did return at least once. And the Time Lords, the Doctors, were able to escape, and the unit was sent back to to Earth, and the Doctors and TARDIS and the companions and everything was sent back, and Gallifrey had a new energy source, and everything was back to normal, happily ever after. And we were introduced to Sarah Jane before this storyline at this point, and Sarah Jane Smith, and who became a very loved and well-liked character. And he, in the Time Lord says, we would not have survived if it wasn't for the Doctor. We need to do something. And they said, well, there's only one thing we can do that they will thank them, that will mean anything to him. And they gave him back his freedom, gave him back the ability to travel through time and space. The last storyline for the John Pertwee storyline, I will tell you, is the Planet of the Spiders. John Pertwee's character had gotten a blue crystal that augments mental powers from a planet called Metabolus 3, and the Spiders wanted it back to complete a circuit that would make their queen all-powerful and control the whole universe. And to stop her, the Doctor had to go back and finish the circuit, would cause a massive feedback, killing this queen and the other intelligent spiders on the planet. But it would destroy the Doctor's brain. And another Time Lord, who was a monk on that planet, at the end of the episode said, the Doctor was out back at unit headquarters, just barely making it back, and he's dying. And the monk goes, he will be okay, but he's got to regenerate. He's going to change. And the brigadier goes, well, here we go again. And they show him change into Tom, which will be Tom Baker. And I just realized it took me 14 minutes to go through 3 Doctors. I'm not going to do this all in one setting, because this is going to take too long. So this is the end of part 1. I will try and do part 2, the rest of it in shorter bit, or we'll have to do this in pieces. So I will talk to you guys soon. Be ready for part